Hi, welcome. I'm Hannah, this is Theology Therapist, and today I want to jump right in. I want to talk to you about a church that I recently went to, and I want to see if you've ever heard of a church called Hillsong. It has locations all over the world, and there's even a documentary about it right now. At this point, you can find it on Amazon or Discovery Plus. This documentary is about how this megachurch covered up scandals and exploited people for their own profit. From what I can tell, this documentary has mixed reviews, so take it with a grain of salt. But what I can say is that when an organization, not only, but especially a church, gets too big or gets so big, it's really hard to manage the humans who are running it. What that means, unfortunately, is that sometimes traumas, scandals, and funny business gets covered up in order to maintain an image for fear of how those things would damage their public image, even if the intended public is only the people in the pews. A long time ago, before I had gone through my deconstruction of faith, I hadn't been to a Hillsong church, but I had been in Hillsong spaces. You might be like, what does that mean? So this is the type of space, the type of evangelical space that listens to all the new Hillsong songs, that adopts their style of worship on Sundays, and that kind of like listens to, what they're talking about, what they're doing, and uses them maybe more as like a model. This is the kind of Sunday church that has lots of lights and music and is very concert-esque. So to say I had felt uncomfortable was an understatement. I had gone from one end of the extreme fundamentalist spectrum where women can't even participate and there are no instruments, to the other, the evangelical of evangelicals. It seemed like there was no in between for me. It was either sad, solemn, somber, or a concert on Sunday. As a side note here, I'm not trying to make a statement about the validity of this type of expression of worship, religious expression. It's just not mine. So fast forward 10 years or so, and guess what? I went to a Hillsong church. I found myself in another country and missing a religious or spiritual community, and so I tried it. As I was sitting front and center, it was clear to me how good it felt to be in the midst and surrounded by others who believe in something else. Even though we didn't probably agree about what that something else was, that didn't really matter as much. But at the same time that it felt really comforting, I noticed that I felt on edge. I was tense and I couldn't relax the entire time. I had this sense that I was an outsider and that they were all around me acutely aware of my presence. I was an outsider between our preferences of expression, where I didn't jump up and join the shouts of assent or the jumping party at the very end to wrap up the service, where they sing and jump and dance around in the front. I wasn't there. And then at the end, when I walked out the front door, I felt relief. I could relax again. What's going on here? Why am I telling you all this? What was going on here? I want to pause and talk to you about this experience that I had, because this is the response of the body whenever it knows that we are not in a safe place. Those spaces haven't been safe for me in the past, and so my body was on high alert. It was on guard in case it needed to go into protection mode at a moment's notice. I knowingly brought myself back into that space, but my body has an innate memory coded into it. It knows. So trauma has to be worked out of our way of thinking, but it also has to be worked out of our bodies. That may mean that you're not experiencing arousal and intrusive symptoms for inappropriate reasons. So if you missed what those are, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and check out episode 20 when I'm talking to you about trauma and PTSD and that as a diagnosis. And in that episode, I explain what all of those things mean. So the key word there is inappropriate reasons. So, you are going to have to work trauma out of your body if you're experiencing those in inappropriate moments. But you know what is an appropriate moment? This is an inappropriate moment. Putting myself back into the same setting where a trauma occurred, like attending a Hillsong service. Now, important to note, having worked through a lot of these things doesn't mean that I was melting down. It doesn't mean that I was having a panic attack. It doesn't mean that I was shutting down. I was able to stay present with my body and managing any symptoms that were happening, right? I was there with it, was observing it non-judgmentally as it was happening and holding our experience, so mine, Hannah, and my body's experience, holding it all in the moment with compassion. That's really the power of allowing our bodies to complete the stress cycle and to allow trauma to work its way out of our body. I can recognize the signs of truly feeling unsafe, show myself love, and not put myself in that situation again. If I'm missing a spiritual community, I can continue to look for that, but I have to honor the innate wisdom that my body holds and not put myself back in that situation. So I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced something like this? Are you still in an environment that feels unsafe to you? Do you notice a difference in what your mind is saying and what your body is feeling? All of these are really, really important things to pay attention to. If you'd like support from a licensed therapist who has gone through this to support you as you are journeying through, click the link in the description to schedule a consult to learn more about how therapy can help. Be well. See you next week.